today we are going to be looking at a cash crop revolution.
Yep.
Some persons do not even know what cash crops are. So I think, to do justice to our discussion this morning, we should start by, first of all, defining what cash crop is.
Yeah, as the name implies, cash crops are those crops that put cash in your pocket.
That's a perfect definition.
So that's what it is basically. Cash crops are those crops you can exchange for money. So either by distributing them in the local market or exporting them. So that's really what it is essentially.
Okay.
Yep.
So does it have any potential for people who might want to invest in it?
Absolutely.
Maybe for wealth creation or even job opportunities?
Absolutely. You're trying to get me to preempt myself.
Just
so can we take it easy?
Yeah,
when we delve into it, I'll tell you all of that.
Okay.
So are we ready to go now?
Yeah, we're ready to start the discussion.
Right. So basically, I want to give a background of why cash crop revolution. Right, there's a high level of poverty in the land today, in Nigeria today. A lot of people don't have jobs. It's not a new thing. It's just that the past 8 years, and this current government the leaders seem to not understand, what to do to get this economy running. Right, and so we've seen many Nigerians go into poverty. Remember, during Buhari's first 4 years. We said we had about 80 million Nigerians, below the poverty line. Right now, it's about 130 million Nigerians that are living in poverty, and that is to say, people are really, really suffering. There are no jobs available. We have an all-time inflation rate of 27%. Never before has Nigeria ever hit inflation rates of 27%. People are laid off. Companies are packing up. Both Nigerian and foreign companies. GSK is one of those big multinationals that packed up and moved away. GSK, the drug manufacturer. There are so many other ones that are packing up. And so, as these companies are dying, Nigerians are losing their jobs. And as Nigerians lose their jobs, families are not able to fulfill the responsibilities towards one another. And that's also affecting the Nigerian economy because it reduces IGR, that's internally generated revenue by way of taxes paid and all of that. And so that means that Nigeria is actually drifting more and more into poverty, right? But there's something I want to tell you, the listener, today, that poverty is a thing of the mind, really. So if you're poor today, it's because you either don't know or something is terribly wrong with you, really. I know the economy is bad, but there are a number of things you can do to live above this Nigerian economy. And since we started this show, we talked about export. And again, I'm going to, delve a little bit into export, but that's not really what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the importance of cash crops to any economy, especially an economy like Nigeria. And so my advice to anybody listening, be it the government, well, there are a lot of people that can play in this game that I'm trying to talk about today. You could be a local government chairman, you could be a chief in your town, the chief of your town, you could be the governor of Enugu State, or you could be a student, who just graduated, or a student still schooling, right? But you need money, right? Your parents don't have a lot of money. This cash crop revolution is for you. Okay. What this simply means is that there are crops that you can actually go into farming today, and you can become a millionaire in the next 6 months. And when I say millionaire, I mean a multi-millionaire in the next 6 months.
Are you going to mention this crops?
Yes, I am going to mention a few of them.
All right.
But you see, the problem is, like I said, poverty is a thing of the mind. There are a lot of young folks in Nigeria who look at farming as a dirty man's business. Oh, I don't want to do farming. I'm too good for that.
It's not a tush business.
Yes, I'm too good for that. They're either high maintenance kind of people, or they feel, especially these young ladies. I don't know if you're that kind of person.
No, I do not agree to that. No, it's both gender.
Yeah, it's both gender, but mostly with our young ladies.
No.
So y'all want to paint your nails, you want to do your nails. So if you want to have long nails, how are you going to farm, right? So
we are not preaching mechanized farming, so you don't necessarily
whatever. But the point is, a lot of young folks see farming as dirty man's business, and that's why they don't even want to get into it, right? Mm-hmm. But there are a number of crops that you can actually go into farming right now. It's the same thing with livestock, but today I don't want to talk about livestock. I want to talk about crop farming, right? Okay. There are crops that you will go into, and in 6 months' time, you will be a multi-millionaire, right? And so there are no jobs available, and people are crying. Government is saying, "Oh, we want to create jobs," and all of that. So I really want to say to the government of Peter Mba that there is an easy way to do this, right? Because you see, we talk about industrialization. We talk about somebody like me. I've been preaching industrialization for scaling of industries for a very long time. I've been preaching food processing as a way to employ millions of Nigerian youths. But what I discovered is if we actually come down to it and decide right now that we're going to set up food processing industries, we don't really have raw materials. So I started really, auditing, our food production, game, and I found out there is actually nothing that we actually produce in enough commercial quantities. Yes, Nigeria is the largest producer of yam in the world. Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world. I agree. But then the truth is, if we actually scale industries to the point where Nigeria becomes prosperous by that route, you will find out that really we don't have enough raw materials to serve these industries and to still, feed the families that depend on these commodities for staple feeding and all of that. And so it becomes a problem. And so for me, my advice to the state government is to invest heavily in food production. And that is to say that we have to identify these cash crops and do a community-based farming project, right? Where government, finances communities, to farm crops that they have comparative advantage with, right? For example, there are communities in Enugu State that farm cashew.
Cashew, yes.
So Obara, in those days, about 50 years ago, or thereabout, planted a lot of these cashews, right? And so we know cashew does well in these communities. And so, but the problem is that these cashews are old. And so we say cashew Southeast is the largest producer of cashews in Nigeria. But the truth is, those cashew seeds are not in vogue anymore. They don't have good demand anymore. What's in vogue right now is what we call the jumbo seeds of cashews. So we need to go into those kinds of communities and plant more plantations, right? Replace the old trees with new ones, right? Open up new plantations and give them really a comparative advantage with cashew. Now, there are communities that farm Nsukka, for example, bell pepper, right? Nsukka farms the yellow pepper, which is amazingly doing very well globally today. So give them the advantage they need. Give them financing. Finance people. Set up programs that would encourage more people to go into that, right? Now, but not only do we need to farm these crops, we actually need to put industries there. Imagine you go to these communities that farm cashew, right? What happens to the cashew seeds? They take them and they sell them, right? But
Yes.
what happens to the fruit itself? It goes to waste. So imagine we set up lots of plantations and we expect that we're going to have a bountiful harvest in the next 5 years. But while those trees are growing, we set up a juice making factory in that community that is going to offtake the seeds, the fruits from the cashew seed, right? Take the fruit, turn it into pulp, and eventually to juice. What you would have done is create a job in a multifaceted way. You create jobs in the production in the farm project, but you also create jobs through the factories that are going to take this farm produce and turn them into finished products like juice and all of that. So you do the same thing with Nsukka. You give them factories that will take this this bell peppers and process them into spices, dry spices and all of that. Now, but the one I'm excited about, right, is yam, for example. Nigeria, like I told you, is the largest producer of yam in the world. But we don't even need to export our yam because the demand for yam in Nigeria is not being met. Yam is a major staple.
The gap
that
is
families
still very
large,
okay.
Right? So, but imagine that people are crying about herdsmen disturbing farmers and all of that. Did you know that you could farm yam in your compound in sacks? Right? Did you know that you could farm up to 4,000 tubers of yam in one plot of land in sacks? You don't need to till the ground.
4,000 tubers.
That's right. Or even more.
Okay.
I've heard that you can do much more than 4,000 in a plot of, depending on the spacing and all of that, and the technology that you use. But imagine that you don't have to go to the fields, you don't have to go to the forest, you don't have to go, to those places where people go and farm and feel that they are at risk of herdsmen's attack. Did you know that in Enugu, if you had a plot of land, you can actually farm 4,000 tubers of yam in sacks in Enugu, in the city of Enugu, And in 6 months' time, that's why I said in 6 months' time, you can actually become a millionaire, right? And in 6 months' time, you will harvest 4,000 tubers of yam in a plot of land that you farmed in, how do you call it, in sacks. Now, let's do the arithmetic. If you were able to harvest 4,000 tubers of yam and you sold every big piece for 1,500, 1,500 times 2,000, let's say 2,000, how much does that give you? Right? That's about 3 million, right? And so if you had a bounty harvest of 4,000 and you sold at 1,500 per yam, right? That's almost 6 million or thereabout, about 6 million, right? Am I right? So you see that really agriculture is it's a cheat code actually to becoming a millionaire, right? But people are just looking at it as a detriment to business. So we need to change that mindset and go into farming. So I want to quickly give you an example of the kinds of crops that government has to actually scale. One, I said cashew. I just talked about yam, hibiscus flower. A state like I think it's Katsina is the largest producer of hibiscus, what we call zobo in Nigeria, right? And you can't believe that this state makes up to $20 billion annually from the export of zobo. So can you imagine that we find communities in Enugu State that can actually farm zobo and give them the enablement, the capability to set up zobo plantations, right? They're going to create jobs for their communities. But when they actually take these products to export, they earn hard currencies for their communities. And so that means that these local governments will have enough money, to build infrastructure and develop, their communities. And so if we do a community to community, investment in agriculture, project like this, trust me, Enugu State is going to be better off in the next couple of years. We're going to have jobs. We're going to have a growing IGR. We're going to have, a growing GDP for the state. And a lot of young people will be engaged, productively. And crime and prostitution actually will practically
Okay, I want
disappear.
to add something, sorry to cut you short here. For the cash crops, the ones that we can actually have here in Enugu, is it capital intensive? Let's start with the yam as an example.
Okay, beautiful question. I wanted to talk about that, but I forgot. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. Now, see how it is. With 200,000 naira, you can actually set up this farm that I'm talking about. A plot of
200,000.
land. Yeah, a plot of land.
Excluding the plot of land.
Including the plot of land.
Okay, including the plot of land. Is it getting a plot
renting
of land?
it, you don't have to buy it.
Okay.
Yes, rent it, leasing it, buying the sand that you have to fill in the sacks and the manure that you have to mix up with the sand, right?
Okay.
And then, of course, water. You have to get some water to water your plants and all of that. So, but even if you needed 400,000 to do this, I've always talked about community-based investment programs as is crowdfunding. There's
a crowdfunding.
That's right. Yeah. So a lot of people are saying, but I bet I won't find the money. I don't have the money. Do not limit yourself. Because all you simply need to do is, if the investment you need is 200,000 or 400,000, all you need to do is find 10 people who can bring 20,000 each. And you already have 200,000. So if you're looking for 400,000, what you need is 20 people who can bring 20,000 each, am I right? So if you do that, then you have the capital you need. But the problem is that we are very individualistic in nature. Oh, now all the profits we make now are going to be shared amongst 20 people. Who cares? Start that way.
So they can also do cooperative, for yam farming.
Call it cooperative, but I hate that name because it has a prejudice on it, because it's become a way for people to go to get money from central bank or from government and go do something else with it. So that's why I'd rather say community-based investment program.
Okay.
But the thing is, you can bring people together and start that way. Then save your profit. Save your profit, that thing that you're doing with the community of friends, and you're making that much profit. Save it. Then after a while, you can actually launch out and set up your own. But doing it with a few other people gives you leverage. Leverage in the sense that you're not bearing the cost alone. You're not bearing, if there are losses, you're not bearing it alone. But it also allows you to learn, on the job. So that after a while, you can start your own, and all the experience that you've gathered, you can actually implement in your own project and be more successful. So I want to run down through the list. It's cocoa, sesame seeds, palm oil, ginger, shea butter, rubber, kola nut, yam. There are lots of cash crops that we have in Nigeria that we can actually use to implement these kinds of community-based projects. But I just chose 10 for account of time, really.
Yeah. Okay. This is still the urban marketplace, and we just discussed the cash crops revolution. If you do not know, I want to let you know right now that agriculture is the new oil money, so you better hop on it
Absolutely.
and make the best out of it. You do not have reason, to sit idle or go around and tell people I have nothing doing. Even if you don't have the money, there are several ways you could go about it just to get yourself busy. My name is Tio Chiamaka, and yes, of course, Mr. Tony is still right here.